Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. We've got a few stories we're going to touch on today, starting with the Australian nightmare here, the housing crisis and immigration crisis, because a lot of politicians at the moment are vying for our votes. They're coming up in a couple of weeks, and they are trying to get us to vote for them with their empty promises, and a lot of them are just throwing out buzzwords and things that they absolutely have zero credibility on planning or even thinking about following up on. We all know politicians love to lie, and especially Australian politicians love to just pass the buck or blame it on someone else. But we're going to get into that first. We'll also have a look at this crazy story yet again from Kanye West, or Ye, coming out with some rather messed up lyrics in a new song, and he's ousted himself as somewhat incestual. I don't know really what to do with that, but we'll have a look at that one anyway. And we're going to have a look at the right, yet again, over in the States, is eating itself, and generally, the cause of that is always Joe Rogan. Everyone seems to gravitate around him and either blame it on him or blame it because of him, or say that he's saving him from it or that he's causing it. They just like throwing his name out there so they can get clicks, likes, and or shares. And speaking of that, please don't forget to like the video, share, and subscribe to the channel down below. Now let's get into today's first story. Australian nightmare crisis we can't ignore. A leading economist says the obvious link between Australia's migration explosion and the housing crisis is a straightforward solution to end the pain. Now, I don't know if you caught this over the last couple of weeks, but people have been ambushing politicians in Australia very politely, I must say. It's been fantastic. This is what we need more of. We need more outspoken Australians doing that kind of thing. And if you see a politician, ask him a pointed question. Grab your phone, ask him a pointed question. Be polite. Be careful. Don't threaten or put anyone at risk. And just ask him. It doesn't even have to be a gotcha question. A pretty simple question. I mean, that guy there, he was asking Albo what he's planning on doing with the immigration and housing and things like that, and he has zero answers for it because he can't take a question unless he's got a 3-point plan of how to lie, obfuscate any's truth there, and circle around the topic without actually answering it. Whether you're for or against it, it's undeniable that virtually any metric, Australia is in the midst of an unprecedented experiment with mass immigration, as we can all tell. Between 2020 to 2023, Australia's population grew by 40%, the fastest rate in any developed nation. More than 30% of Australia's population in 2023 was born overseas. That's kind of a shocking statistic just in its own there. 30% of Australians population was born overseas in 2023 for the first time since 1893. For everyone baby born in Australia now, 4 migrants arrive, and many of those babies themselves born to migrants. The overseas born population bottomed out at 9.8% in 1947 and has been climbing steadily ever since. It's almost V-shaped reconciliation. In the 60 years after World War II, net overseas migration arrivals minus departures averaged about 90,000 per year, despite large influxes of migrants from Europe after the war that figure reached over 150,000 twice in those 6 decades. When John Howard kicked off big Australia boom in the early noughties, net overseas migration more than doubled its historical average. So we can start to blame John Howard yet again for another piss take of a plan. It was just a taste of what would to come. After COVID, net overseas migration skyrocketed with an eye-watering 536,000 people in 2022-2023, dipping slightly to 446,000 2023 to 2024. We're not against migration, Frank Carbone, Mayor of Multicultural Fairfield in Sydney's West. Now, I don't know if you can go anywhere in Sydney, especially Fairfield, but it's hard to spot the white person in most parts of that horrible city we have there in New South Wales. Migration as the foundation of this country has been built on... it's not, by the way. Migration... This country wasn't founded on migration. That is a lie that the government of today in yesteryear, and starting probably with John Howard there, spread to kind of, prop up the industry. They want to bring up our GDP. So the easiest way to do that is import people into the country, whether they're working or hardworking, or whether they're just lazy layabouts like, most New Zealanders, unless they're scaffolders. It's a joke, guys. Calm down. I don't know. If I wrote that out, none of you'd be able to read it anyway. But the migration in this country, yes, we have a multicultural country, but we're supposed to be one culture, Australian culture. It's not supposed to be little Pakistan and little India and little fucking Dubai and little Malaysia and things like that, little China. It's not supposed to be multiple different cultures. It's supposed to be one culture, and that's the Australian culture. And I know a lot of immigrants in this country, like South Africans seem to, come in a lot, and I know quite a few of them. My neighbours are South African. They seem to come in and, turn into Australians. There's a lot of Thai that do the same. There's a lot of Filipino that do the same. A lot of New Zealanders, obviously, although New Zealanders seem to think that they're better than Australians, even though they come here and live here and work here and then bitch about the country non-stop. And it's our pavlova. You guys stole the recipe and we want it back. They seem to integrate a lot better than some cultures, like Lebanese cultures in places like Sydney seem to have their own little thing. I mean, don't let me get wrong. They do bring some stuff to the table. Like kebabs are fantastic. Greeks, they assimilated really well. Italians assimilated really well. They bring something over with them. They work hard, and it's just some cultures just do not seem to do that. Some cultures just don't want to seem to integrate. I don't know whether it's a newer thing or an older thing, but I think it's getting worse as the days go on. Chinese definitely do not want to integrate. Like the older generation integrated it quite a bit, but I think the it's not even the younger generation, but the new batch that are coming over just seem to want to be Chinese nationalists even in Australia. I don't know whether it's out of fear of the Communist Chinese Party getting them over here, seeming that we have Communist Chinese Party police stations popping up all over Australia. And that's a true story. Go and have a look at a earlier video I've done on it. But some cultures integrate better and some don't. And we weren't built on this country being a multicultural place. It was, English, Anglo-Saxon heritage, Irish, Scottish, were all brought over on slave ships, and generally, things like 10-pound pom. We were an English country under the monarchy, and we generally still should be, and we are. It was a Christian nation, whether you're religious or not. I'm very unreligious, not religious at all, but whatever tickles your fancy there. But this country, the lie they're selling us that we're multicultural and we're built on multiculturalism. We were not. The surge has been driven by international students who make up the vast bulk of temporary migration numbers. The record 197,000 arrived in February alone. And then there are now 850,000 in the country. There's 850,000 of them. The permanent migration program currently set 185,000 places as smaller contributor in overseas migration. 60% of granted visas are already living in the country. Of those, around 25,000 a year were former temporary students. Today, a new migrant arrives to live in Australia every 44 seconds. That's nearly 2,000 people a day, more than 4 Boeing 747s. All while the Australian birth rate falls to a now record low of 1.5 per woman, the birth rate fell below replacement levels of 2.1, in 1976, and has never recovered. With net zero overseas migration, Australia's population would be declining. By the current rate, the country is adding nearly a new Canberra every year. That's kind of terrifying. The federal budget forecasts another 1.8 million over the next 5 years, roughly in Adelaide and Hobart, hopefully neither of those places. In the next 40 years, Australia's population is officially tipped to grow to 13.5 million, another Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, to reach 41.2 million by 2065. And that number from the Centre of Population's 2024 population statement assumes that net overseas migration of only 235,000 per year. Both major parties have vowed to reduce migration in the face of the growing public backlash. Labor a bit, the coalition a bit more. The build more homes. Now, the home lie is a good one. They say that they're building more homes. They want to build more homes. They want to slightly decrease. I mean, even Dutton saying that they want to slightly decrease immigration, not by much. I mean, if you want to decrease immigration, you're going to have to go by someone like Rennick or Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. They're the only ones out there saying that we really need to cut migration by a lot. And they're the only ones out there with actual plans on how to get a foot in the door with getting home, which is the only way to grow wealth in Australia, because the amount of crap that we have to go through to make money in Australia is 45% of our friggin' income goes to tax. It's ridiculous. You cannot get ahead in Australia, and if you do try to get ahead, you're cut down by people around you, because we have this thing in Australia called tall poppy syndrome, and people hate it when other people do better than them or seem to want to do better than them. That's why I think Australians hate Americans so much, because Americans are cocky and, they want to be bigger and better than everyone else, and Australians are just like, nah, fuck that. We can't. We don't want to put up with that, and we'll cut you down to size and belittle you and, pull away from your achievements. As hundreds of thousands of migrants arrive every few months, even more than half of them settling in Sydney and Melbourne, many young families are leaving. In Sydney, which now is the second least affordable housing in the world, second to only Hong Kong, the exodus in recent years has been stark. New South Wales saw net overseas migration of 120,000. 202,000 arrivals and 82,000 departures in the 12 months of September to September 30th, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. The same period, a net of 29,505 people left New South Wales for other states. Fairfield has been dubbed Australia's refugee capital, settling roughly half of the country's humanitarian migrants from countries including Iraq, Syria and Afghanistan. Oh yes, just the kind of people that we want in our country. All I can say is Fairfield's full, says Mayor Carborn, an independent. There isn't an empty house. There's nothing available for anybody. Fairfield is on the outskirts. I can only imagine what it's like everywhere else. Mr. Carbon said every country needs a migration policy, but it needs to be a sensible and sustainable policy. What we've had over the past few years, more than 1 million people coming in, has a huge impact on the quality of life of every Australian, he said. It's put pressure on housing, pressure on rents, general cost of living. Quite clearly, the government has made a huge mistake, because I see in the street is people competing for the most important things in life that we need, and we should be able to have housing, food and energy. Mr. Carbone says that these necessities have grown unaffordable for working people, pensioners and even a few migrants who have come in and the government's just dumped at our doorstep. It is quite clear with huge increase the government has brought in that it has put our economy out of step, he said. I'm not talking about the bottom line of the GDP. It might suit Treasury to have high numbers, but it does not suit our community. Every Australian realises we cannot build enough houses to accommodate 1 million coming in overnight. Now, the government's saying that they want to build 250,000 houses or more a year. We're currently building 150,000, even less than last year. It was 180,000 a year. Now we're building less because red tape is strangling people. People can't afford to buy a house. People can't afford to build a house in this economy. After COVID, everyone's doing it tough. And now importing this many people a year and not having the houses to even back them up, it's created such a vast difference in income inequality to like people being able to even possibly afford to save for a home. I just did a bit of research, and it's out there on Twitter, but in Australia, I'll bring it up actually. In Australia, the median house price in Australia is $885,000. Median salary in Australia is $65,000 annually. Median weekly rent in Australia works out to be $620. It's a lot more where I live, and I'm in a small country town. Median weekly paycheck is around $1,250 out of that $65K annually. After bills, food, and Netflix, internet, phone, all that, the average Australian can save $300 a week. At that rate, to save 20% for a deposit would take 12 years. The projected median house price in 12 years' time is $1.8 million. That's just the median price. So half of them are more expensive. How are we supposed to keep up? It's insane to think that in 12 years' time, just think about 12 years ago. What was happening 12 years ago? Trump was running for office roughly about that time. Or that put us in 2015? Yeah. It's not that long ago. It doesn't take long for 12 years to go by. Australia is currently needing 300,000 new homes at the moment. We're at 300,000 in deficit of new homes. We've got, 300,000 homeless people in Australia? That's They're not the ones chasing the homes because they have, no option but to live on the street. So even if we built the houses, unless we're giving to them for free, they're not going to need them. We're building 150,000 a year and currently importing 500,000 people a year as permanent residents. So what do? Do we deport the homeless Australians? That's an option. Then we can bring down the deficit and we won't have any homeless in Australia. I know the crackheads in town, we could easily deport them. We round them up. They're all congregate in little places and we just, throw a bag of meth on the ground and maybe a big basket. We can capture them and we'll ship them off. I don't know who. Someone will take Ukraine. Ukraine will take our homeless people. Ukraine will use them for their meat grinder thing that they've got going on over there with Russia. Russia might even take them. I mean, North Korea might take it. That's an easy way to do it. We'll just send all of our homeless people to Ukraine. Australia is suffering under its own weight of laziness, she'll be right attitude, and government overreach. The government is taking from us more than they're giving back. When was the last time you drove on a decent road? I don't know if you live in Queensland, but we live in rural Queensland. And roads around here look like Gaza. It's insane to call them major highways or arterial roads or, TMR, Main Roads Department here in Queensland. I work with them. I've worked on main roads programs. I work building roads, shit like that. And I'm telling you, the amount of governmental waste in that industry is phenomenal. Phenomenal. We were working on a project. The budget was $9 million. At the end of that project, it was $22 million. Things happen. There was a flood, ruined the road, shit like that kind of happens. But to more than double its budget for generally a small job, it's insane. And things like, it looks good from my house, so they don't care. Or, there's a pothole there, but we don't have that on the paperwork, so we're just going to fucking ignore it. That happens a lot with councils. That happens a lot with main roads. We're not getting any bang for our buck here in Queensland, let alone Australia. I'm sure it's probably worse in other states. I mean, some of the guys, the guys on the ground, they generally try to care to an extent where they're allowed to. I mean, in a council environment, if they do try to care about their job, they're generally pushed out. It's disgusting. This council I've worked with, they're under investigation for several different things, and I'm not going to go into it, but Jesus Christ, are they corrupt? And that's just on a small scale, down to the guy with a shovel on the road, possibly, some of them, not the guys I work with, but some of them, been caught stealing. Actually, no, some of them I have worked with. So, yeah, stealing equipment, things like that, doing roads for mates, driveways for friends, things like that. It's corrupt from the very top, from the Prime Minister down to the guy on the shovel. The Australian dream of owning a home and raising a family into an Australian nightmare simply because they were more worried about the bottom line, he said. Housing's big squeeze. Labor has promised to build 1.2 million new homes by 2029. That's about 240,000 a year. Coalition claims it'll build about 500,000 more quickly under its plan. Labor's aiming to bring net overseas migration to 230,000 and is forecasting 335,000 for this financial year. 335,000 people are coming into this country when we are, 300,000 homes in deficit for people to live in? We have 300,000 homeless people in Australia. We have homes that are costing nearly $1 million in a rural town. I mean, if I was to sell my house now, in 2019, we paid about $350,000 for land, house, the whole lot, which was, I'm fucking so happy I did, because I would be screwed paying $700 a week rent. Paying $800 a week mortgage is less painful, I suppose. It's still, $600-700 a week, $800 a week, whatever it is. It's insane to be paying that for a mortgage anyway, on a $350,000 house. But it's mine at the end of the day. I can do what I want to it. I can defend it. I can, do what I want relatively with it. I wouldn't be doing that for a rental. my family is paying $700 a week rent for a 2-bedroom townhouse kind of style, or apartment, I suppose. $700 a week rent for a house in a housing estate. And there is no road for the average Australian person to buy a home. There is no way for the average Australian to buy a home. The old people are not dying off fast enough. Thanks, COVID. You could have helped along with that, but, they are not dying off fast enough. They are not selling off their homes. They are keeping everything, and then they are retiring and living a lot longer than usual. So the homes aren't coming out of the boomers. They are staying there with the boomers. So the millennials, about 50% of them own homes. The Gen Z kids, I don't know how they're going to afford to buy a home. It's impossible. How is someone on an income of, say, $65,000 a year, say $100,000 a year, if you're earning about $100,000 a year, you're taxed around about $33,000 a year on that. So $33,000 a year goes straight to the government. It's gone. You are not earning enough money to buy a house. $885,000 is a minimum, median price. If you can't live in Sydney for that, you can't buy in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth. You might be able to buy some sort of crack den on the outskirts of a city for that. I don't know. Probably not. And is there any work around? No, there won't be any work near you. We are not building enough homes. We're importing too many people. It's a very simple, very mathematical equation where you can do on your phone. You can ask Grok, you can ask ChatGPT, it'll tell you the same thing. You can Google it. It is very simple. We need to stop importing so many people into this country. We need to start building more houses. We need to open up land so that people can subdivide it a lot easier and a lot cheaper, so people can live on it and buy it and have a plan to buy it. The government's buying going to throw in $800,000 for a home, so you're buying a home off the government now. That's just going to increase property prices. So if I have the option of selling my house, and I know that everyone out there has the opportunity to go and get $800,000 loan from the government, why would I sell my house for anything less than $800,000? It's stupid. You wouldn't. If they're going to... What's Labor's plan is to give people access to their super. Okay. If every single person had access to, say, 30 grand of their super, so just 30,000, what do you think is going to happen to the house prices? They're going to go up $30,000. I mean, if everyone's got $30,000 for free, well, it's not for free, but you know what I mean. House prices are going to go up. That's exactly what happened. It's happened before. It'll happen again. They need to stop importing so many people. That's the only way about it. You can say it's racist. You can say it's, ignorant or whatever. You can do it. A computer can figure it out with no emotions and no racism involved or anything like that. If a computer can figure it out, it's a simple calculation that we can't build enough houses if we keep importing this many people. Another idea is maybe we go and oust all the Chinese-owned houses, foreign investment-owned houses, make them sell, so that'll drop the housing market. That'd bring on around about 400,000 homes or something like that onto the market. That would crash the house prices, create an absolute shit show. It'd be hilarious. But you see the boomers clutching at their pearls because their home that they bought for 11 raspberries isn't worth $1.8 million anymore. But the only way to do something about it and stop this in its tracks is to do drastic measures. Doing it a little bit by bit and piecemeal, we're going to stop we won't bring in 335,000, we'll bring in 300,000 people. And we might build 200,000 homes instead of 160,000 homes. It's not going to help. We need a dramatic change. And the only way I can see that happening is if we get a massive push towards third parties here in the election. I would say One Nation, Libertarian. One Nation is going on the top of the list for me. There'll be Liberal parties. Rennick is great. Malcolm Roberts is great. Pauline Hanson, great, obviously. There's the Teals, the Greens, Labor and Liberal are all going last. Those people have killed this country. They've killed any chance that we have at creating long-term wealth for the next generation. And boomers are 90% of the problem there, but who runs the government? It's boomers. You don't see 19, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds in government. It's 60, 70, 80 plus. We need to do something drastic, and I think the only way to do that is by voting for a third party. The coalition claims it will build 500,000 homes more quickly. It will not. The only way they're going to build 500,000 homes more quickly is if they go and let private corporations do it, private people do it. You've got to cut the red tape. You've got to open up lands to be developed. Get rid of all this green zoning bullshit. Do it nicely. We don't want people just trashing the environment, killing koalas and things like that. But there are a lot of stupid rules out there. My family has property down in New South Wales that they live on. They wanted to open up land there to sell. It was a timber plantation to sell. They were not allowed to sell it due to government zoning. They wanted it as a green corridor for fucking whatever. It was planted to be cut down. That was the reason it was there. Trees were planted so they could be cut down for hardwood. They wanted to sell the land, wouldn't let them sell it. The government's like, oh, we'll buy it off you. I think it was like, I don't even know the acreage, but hundreds of acres. The government wanted to give them $30,000 for it. This is only a couple of years ago. So family told them, go get fucked, as you would. Later that year, the entire lot burnt down. No, sorry, it was a year after. A couple of months later, but the next year. The entire lot burnt down. The trees were still there. They were okay. They survived. With all the brush and underbrush and that, burnt down and devastated the local area in massive bushfires. And the reason that brush was allowed to accumulate is because they weren't allowed to run cattle in there. And the cattle wasn't even allowed on their own property that they own. In a hardwood timber plantation, they were not allowed to run cattle on there to keep, feed the cattle and keep the tinder down. So that's the Greens for you. They don't care about they don't care about the environment. They don't care about anything besides their communistic fucking. I don't even know what they've got going. Half of them are just mentally ill. Have you seen the one running that's like, I don't know whether it's trans or non-binary or just retarded? I don't know, but it's got purple hair, half a buzz cut, and I don't know whether it's a boy or a girl. They cannot be allowed to get in. The only way to fix this is to vote for a third party that actually has a chance. And I think One Nation's got the best chance. The Libertarians got the best chance. And putting Dutton and Albo against each other and the media saying that they're the only two options is a load of shit. They are not our only two options. We are probably going to end up with either one of them. That is going to happen. But we need to get One Nation more seats. We need to get Libertarian more seats. So at least next time there's an election, the next election after this one, we have a chance of them getting into a major third party and really throwing it in, like really screwing these two major parties over. We need to put some fear into them so that they realize that they don't have us just on a two-party system, that they can lose, and then they can lose their base and they can lose their seats. If we do that at least once, if we do it this election and we scare them enough, they will actually have to start listening to us. Dutton is they're comparing him to Trump. He's nothing like Trump. He is a soy latte drinking fucking bald ex-police officer who has no idea the Australian people. He is a little bit better than Albo. He is a little bit better than Albo. Probably worse than Albo on some things. They're not polar opposites. They are the two sides of the same coin. At the moment, the forecast for net overseas migration in the next 5 years comes at an outcome below number and additional houses that the government has said it is planned to build, with Dr. Abdul Rizvi, former Deputy Secretary of Immigration Department. If those two forecasts are realised and we will actually have a surplus of houses, that is the crucial question. Shane Oliver, chief economist and the head investment strategy AMP, insists trying immigration to housing capacity is just a statement of the obvious. He argues solving the housing crisis will require both cutting back demand and by lowering immigration at the same time by boosting supply. There's three things we need to do, all of them at the same time. The problem is that the immigration at one stage being above 500,000, the population grew about 650,000. In that situation, you need to build about 250,000 homes a year. Australia currently builds about 180,000. I think it was about 150,000 this year, including houses and units. If we're like in the past few years, seeing around 160, 170 completions. The highest we ever got was about 225,000 in the unit building boom between 2015 and 2019. Dr. Oliver said the rate new home building COVID since nowhere near fast enough. 2023 to 2024, building approvals fell by 8.8%, just over 158,690 new starts, the lowest level in more than a decade. So we need to go back to 2015, 2019 era of laws and red tape. What have we got to get rid of? We've got to reinvest into basically gutting the government, where they just stop growth at every turn. I don't get why the government wants the country to grow. Theoretically, that's what they want. More GDP, more money in their pocket. That's what they want, but they're stifling it for some reason. I think what I run into working with government departments and things is that if it says, oh, this is how it's been done for the last 60 years. And then someone goes, oh, well, I've got a better, easier, cheaper, faster, better way to do it. Someone will go to them, oh, well, no, that's not how we do things. We've been doing it like this for 60 years. That's how we're going to do it. And then the new person will be like, yes, okay, but this is a better, faster, cheaper way of doing said thing. Can we do it like this? And they go, no, because this is the way I was taught. And generally they will out that person. That person will, won't be around for long, or they will just be hit over the back of the head until they start complying and doing the same as what those other people in the government do, and just following the rule book from 60 years ago that doesn't make any sense today. I don't know if the people in the government realise, but the world has really accelerated its growth into, becoming like a futuristic place in the last couple of years, just alone with, things like AI and drones and, SpaceX and things like that, and Tesla and, the internet the Internet of Things. I mean, the growth that we've seen in the things like medical industry and, stuff like that in the last couple of years is insane, and it outpaces anything the government is doing. We can 3D print homes now. We can 3D print widgets we need, that we can grow meat in a lab. Not that I really want to, but we can do things just in the last 12 months that we couldn't have thought of doing in the last 100 years ago. We couldn't even have thought about doing it. And the government is stifling itself and snuffing out the flame that I don't know why they do. It's every single country does it, and they seem to put the needs of other people that aren't in this country above the needs of the people who are. Every single time we go to vote, they say, oh, we'll take care of you, we'll do that thing you want us to do. And then they never do it, and they screw us over at every turn. It's time we need to change that. We need to vote for a third party. We need people to realise how the voting system works here in Australia. If you're not sure on how the voting system works, it's confuddled here in Australia. I don't know why the American system seems a lot easier to understand. Maybe it's because it's more entertaining. But go and watch a video from Topher Field. He has a YouTube channel. He's a very nice guy, very smart man. He lays it out very simply. He has a few videos on it, but go and watch one or two of his videos. There's a longer one just on how the preference system works and how voting works. I beg you, please go and watch one of those videos from Topher Field Project. They're on YouTube. It's so much, it's clouded in mystery in Australia. I do not know why. I think it's basically to hide the fact that they don't want us to know how voting works here in Australia, because they just think, oh, I'm just going to vote for what my dad says, or we've always voted Labor, I'm going to vote Labor, or I've always voted Liberal, I'm going to vote Liberal. It's, make up your own mind. Who in your time, if you're younger than, you're a millennial, Gen Z, whatever, who in your time have you seen in the government help you? Was it either of the two major parties? Have you seen anyone, do anything of substance? Unless it comes up to an election time and they go, here's $750, vote for me. No. None of them help you. None of them want you to do well. They want you to pay your tax and shut up. Moving on to another story. Joe Rogan's guest mocks Spectator associate editor Douglas Murray in the latest episode. Now, if you don't know who he is, Tim Dillon is a fantastically funny comedian who says some really outrageous things. Joe is also a comedian. If you've watched anything to do with Joe Rogan, if you've watched more than 5 episodes, I think you know a lot of the time he's just a person who wants to find out answers, wants to make a joke, and he will change his mind on topics. He isn't, he isn't steadfast in his opinion on things in the wake of learning something new about it he didn't know. He will change his opinion on things. And at the moment, this this Joe Rogan, Douglas Murray, and Dave Smith interview is just doing the rounds on Twitter still. I do not know why. This public, conversation has been had by every single person on the left and the right and the middle. It's been had. Everyone knows it's Israel versus Palestine, Palestine versus Israel. It's the Jews versus the Muslims. It's been going on for thousands of years. This conversation has been had. It's done. Why are we still talking about it? The Jews are doing some bad things to Palestinians. The Palestinians did some bad things to the Jews. Who cares? Really get over it. Unless you're in either of those places and you have family there, I don't see why it's such a polarizing issue. I think the left and the right have just grabbed a hold of this thing and they're just beating each other over the head with talking point 1, talking point 2, talking point 1, talking point 2. And it's pointless. To the point where Douglas Murray and Dave Smith have 2 or 3 hour conversation, debate, whatever. A lot of people said Dave Smith won. A lot of people said Douglas Murray won. I think maybe, Douglas Murray had an air of superiority about him, but that's just his accent and, I don't know, being a rich English gay man, or is he gay? I don't know. I think he sounds gay. That's what you're going to sound like. And Dave Smith pretending that he knows everything just because, I don't know, he read some stuff online. It was a conversation that didn't need to happen. Nothing was said. The entire 3 hours has happened a million times before. And I think people just using it, I'm using it now to talk about it because it's the only thing going on the internet at the moment, besides the Kanye story. But it's the only thing going on, and the only thing to talk about is because people won't drop it. Nothing was said in the entire interview. And now that they're attacking Joe Rogan, the left's attacking Joe Rogan for, having Douglas Murray on. The right's attacking Joe Rogan for having both of them on. And it's stupid. Now they're attacking Joe Rogan for making jokes about it afterwards. He's a fucking comedian. I don't know if you guys remember that. We'll get into the story here anyway. Joe Rogan and the comedian ridiculed Douglas Murray's appearance on the show and derided war tourism. Joe Rogan and his guest Tim Dillon mocked the Spectator's associate editor Douglas Murray from the war tourism on a recent episode of his podcast. Hopefully they do this piece in the Middle East. Hopefully comedian Tim Dillon segged for a discussion on the Israel-Gaza war. Hopefully they figure out, because it's unfortunate, he continues. It's effing crazy, Rogan says. The human toll is unreal. It's scary. It's crazy. Dillon says, while maintaining a serious tone. The American comedian then dismisses a refer and spat and unfolded between Rogan and his close friend Dave Smith and Murray. There is an argument to be made that level of devastation and death is worse than you talking to someone on your podcast, Dillon says, deadpan. Allegedly, Rogan chimes back. There is an argument to be made. It's probably not a good one, the comedian says. The amount of damage you can do with just talking, Rogan admits while speaking over Dillon. There is an argument to be made that starvation and stuff like that, people dying, is worse than a podcast. I wouldn't make it. Dillon goes on to state before erupting into laughter. See, that's what I mean. They're comedians. They're talking about a serious topic in a funny way because that's what they do. Rogan then fires a quick jibe at British pundit Murray. Have you been there? Rogan mocks. Have you ever thought you'd even been? He stabs at his previous guest Murray. But to Douglas Murray's point, he does have a point. Dave Smith hasn't been there and seen all this. He's only seeing other people's opinions from the internet. I mean, with the amount of money he's got and the amount of fame he's got and the amount of talking he does, you think he would have fucking gone there at least once. I give him that. No, you're allowed to have opinions without going there. Of course you are. But dude, put your money where your mouth is. You pretend that another point Douglas made was that he just washes his hands of it. If he gets proven wrong, he just washes his hands. Oh, I'm just a comedian. I'm just a comedian. I'm just saying things. I'm just a podcaster. Everyone does that, but you can't use that as a defense when you get something wrong. It's not really fair. I mean, if Douglas Murray goes and gets something wrong, and they go, "Oh, it's your job to know these things," he can't go, "Well, I'm just a comedian. I just say funny things." He had a point there as well. The entire conversation was a waste of time. I really do not get why it's this massive at the moment. It's very interesting, this war tourism. How do I get onto this war tourism? Dylan Goads. Murray's position when he appeared on Joe Rogan's Experience was that in order to have an opinion about a country, you should visit it. No, that wasn't his... He was saying, no, that's leading there. That's not exactly what he was saying. That was the gist of it, but he wasn't like saying you're not allowed to have any opinions. But like the amount of opinions that Dave Smith has, maybe, he should have gone there. Have you been to the crossing points? Murray was heard asking Smith while discussing Middle Eastern conflict on an episode aired April 10th. No, I have never been, Smith says. Murray, a neoconservative commentator who has recently published a book on the ramification of Israel Palestinian war, went on to berate Smith. It wasn't really berating him. You've never been, Murray said. Smith fired back, I'm not allowed to talk about it now. Have you ever been to Nazi Germany? Are you allowed to have feelings about them? He goes, if you're going to spend a year and a half talking about a place, then you should at least do the courtesy of visiting it. Murray chastised the pair by stating that it was a good idea to see stuff, particularly if you spend an entire career talking about something. They both have a point there. Like, that's what I mean. Neither of them are wrong. Neither of them are 100% correct either. When he concludes saying that he will not talk about a country even impartially unless he's visited himself. Murray has since written a scathing op-ed in the New York Post fuming over Rogan's guest being almost entirely anti-Ukraine, anti-Israel, and attacked the host for spreading misinformation about the two conflicts. Many guests on the show are also people who are simply in no way experts at what they're talking about, Murray wrote on Thursday. Now, in Joe's defense, it's not his job to have... Just because he's the biggest podcast in the world, that doesn't mean he has to have every single expert from either side of whatever conflict, whether it's pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, whether it's pro-war, anti-war, whether it's Israel, whether it's Palestine. He doesn't have to have one, of each opposing viewpoint. Because even when he does, he still cops shit for it. If he has, say, Dave Smith on, and then he has Ian Carroll on, he has people attacking him from either side. It doesn't matter if he has one from either side. He still gets attacked. And then he gets attacked by a third party for having either of them on. Rogan is a comedian. He loves talking to people. He loves learning new things. He isn't out there as a political pundit because everyone wants to paint him as a political pundit. They want to paint him as their political pundit. They want to paint him as the enemy's political pundit. Whatever it is, they're using his name, his podcast to get more clicks, likes, and shares for whatever they're fucking doing. And, attacking him for talking to people and letting people talk to each other is just stupid. It's naive. It's small-minded. It's like when Cat Turd, that fucking Twitter personality, I don't know what he is, on X, attacked Rogan for not coming out and going pro-Trump sooner. Rogan's put more people towards Trump with just saying the truth than Cat Turd ever could possibly try to. And Cat Turd's just, what would you call the opposite of Trump derangement syndrome? I don't know. But, he's put him on a pedestal. It's people like Rogan are literally just out there to have conversations. If this whole podcast thing became too much and it was too annoying and too hard for him, he'd just drop it and he'd walk away from it, I don't understand. People don't listen to him enough. I don't get it. It's he's got his own opinions. He's allowed to have his own opinions. He's got his own biases. He's allowed to have them as well. He doesn't have to have either side of each conversation on. Well, you had this person on, so why don't you have this person on? It's stupid. It's his podcast. Why is everyone like, oh, well, because he didn't have this one person on, it means he believes in this thing? It's stupid. And now the right's attacking itself over something that Rogan orchestrated, I suppose. That he had two people on, and then he dared to talk about it. Yeah, it was probably a bit rude making fun of Douglas Murray afterwards, but he does talk like that, and he is a bit of a pompous cunt, but that's why I like him. I mean, Douglas Murray does have some good ideas. He has some bad ideas. You know, if you agree with everything someone says, you're probably, a little bit captured. You don't have to agree with everything someone says, especially because it's some dude on the internet. I mean, I don't know anyone who just blindly agrees with everything someone says. I don't think I surround myself with people like that, but people on the internet seem to. I don't know. Let's go into this next story about Kanye West. Anyway, now, if you don't know who Kanye West is, I don't know where you've been. He is a rapper. He was probably one of the biggest rappers in the world. He had some great hits. Honestly, I don't listen to rap and R&B and things like that all that much. But he made a debut appearance on South Park, whether he liked it or not, coming out as, he was in Fish. I don't know if you've seen that episode, but it was quite funny. And I think South Park has hit the nail on the head here. After his latest, pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi stunts, I don't know what he needs to get on his meds or something. But it is entertaining to watch. I mean, someone who's, removed from being, nowhere near being a billionaire ever and never will be. It's fun to watch one of them lose their shit and just, throw shit everywhere. It's fun. So Kanye West has, he's broken the internet again. Kanye West admits to committing incest with his cousin as a child in a new song. Kanye West claims that him and his cousin, who was locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years, acted out certain things from dirty magazines. Ye made a disturbing claim about his cousin in a new song. The Vultures rapper posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, why are we still doing that, of his new song Cousins. The video showed a variety of random visuals in the video games and semi-pornographic images in the song. You can be heard rapping about the time he stumbled across adult magazines as a kid that he found in his late mother Donda's closet. In the post, he explained the inspiration of the song and claimed it was about his cousin who was locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years. Okay. He wrote the song called Cousins about my cousin when he was locked in jail for killing a pregnant lady a few years after I told him I wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. Ye continued, perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6, and then we acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found on top of my mum's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I sucked my cousin's D until I was 14. Wow. So I don't know whether he's off the medication, on the medication, or what's going on, but it's entertaining anyway. This kind of goes to show what I suspected for years, that he was a motherfucking gay fish. The rapper did not name the cousin, but in 2018, Ye gave his cousin a shout-out in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel. When he was asked about Donald Trump's presidency, he said, my cousin is locked up for murder and I love him, so he did a bad thing, but I still love him. Well, once you've had black, you never go back, right? Fans also wonder if the cousin Ye is referring to in the new song is the one he mentions in No More Parties in LA. He raps, as far as real friends tell me, my cousins, I love them, even the one that stole the laptop, you dirty mother effer. Yeah, if you're a survivor of sexual assault, call the National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-4673 to visit its website and receive confidential support. I don't know what to make of it. Kanye is really good. I wonder what Kim thinks. It's a bit sad that he's got kids and he's out there saying this shit. I don't know whether he should be making a song about it if it's all true, which I'd say it probably is, knowing him. I don't know why he'd be lying. Yeah, he's someone. Yeah, go and get your boy. Honestly, go get your boy. He is out of control. This isn't I don't even know if this is the craziest thing he's done this year. I mean, I don't think it is the craziest thing he's done. I think coming out that swastika shirt was probably crazier, and saying Hitler was a cool dude was probably crazier. But breaking up with Bianca Censori was that's her name, isn't it? With a nice tits and parading her around naked all the time. That's crazy. Wasn't he getting a blowjob in Venice in one of those little rowboats? Yeah. It's interesting to see where he's going with it. I'd like to see where he's going with this. I mean, I can't predict what he's going to do. I don't think anyone can. There's a lot of people out there who maybe need to maybe go and have a chat with him and pull him in. He seems to be having a moment. Maybe it's just all spiraling down into some sort of mass explosion that he's going to do. I don't know. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he gets some help that he needs. But I don't know where to go with it. We'll keep an eye on Ye anyway. I mean, next time you see a Kanye West headline, maybe a title or something like that, let's see if he one-ups this one. I mean, yeah, maybe he's going to run for president again after Trump's out of office, or the next election cycle. We'll see. Who would you vote for? Ye if you're in the States? I don't know if I would after these rather shocking allegations or confessions. I don't know what you want to call them. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment down below, like the video, and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on X, Rumble, and all other platforms. Yeah, what do you guys think about, especially this story, but what do you guys think about the stories? Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.